I'm just here for the beer. I'm just here for the beer.
Welcome back. You're listening to Just Here for the Beer Radio. I'm Rick Mohabir. Wonderful co-host today, Mr. Todd Simmons. How you doing?
Hoping I'm pulling my weight here.
Oh, you're pulling your weight. You're pulling your weight. I know it's at that time of year where we all kind of started like, oh God, it's Christmas. We got to slow down a little bit. But you know what?
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
It just
at all.
gets worse.
No, it does. We got, like we said, I think earlier, we got one more week, and hopefully we'll get a little downtime.
Yeah, exactly. Well, my friend, I'm gonna do a little beer education with you today.
Fantastic.
We have the lovely Leanne Skrenka from Bravo Beer. Welcome. And today, what we're gonna do is since as a beer educator, one of my things is to be able to get people to try different beers, right? Not just to step outside your envelope and try something different and unique. And when people tend to hear about Belgian style beers, they're like, ooh, what's that all about? And they kind of step back from it. But there's a wide variety there, and you know, what we're going to have Leanne do today with us is sort of walk us through what makes Belgian beers unique and what gives the styles its flavor and what we should be looking for when we're trying Belgian beers. So Leanne, give us a little history on how did Belgian beers start to come about, and we know that they're all based out of monasteries out in Europe, and so how did that come to sort of the general market and then now into North America?
The Belgians have been brewing for about 700 years. When the Catholic Church gave permission to the monasteries to brew and sell beer is when the culture really started there. The monasteries sold to the villages because the beer was actually more sanitary and a lot more nutritious than just drinking plain water.
Yeah.
It wasn't until the 1400s when they started adding hops to the beers. Before that, they just used herbs and spices, and that was called a crute. Once they started using hops, and that became the recipe for the beers that we know today. Because Belgium was in foreign occupation with so many different people controlling Belgium, the Belgian brewers just said, no, we're not going by any brewing laws. We're brewing what we like, what tastes good, which is why there's so many diverse styles of the Belgian beers. These same brewers also were getting taxed by all the countries that were occupying them, so they came up with one of the world's first guilds, the Belgian Brewers Association. That association is still running today. Every brewer in Belgium is a member. They had a high of about 3,400 members at the beginning of the century.
Incredible.
It is incredible. But now there's only about 180 brewers left in Belgium.
Wow.
Yeah. That had a lot to do with during the Second World War and First World War, when they were invaded, all the copper...
all the metals were taken out of the brew houses and used, yeah.
That's right. And then in the 60s, when the economy wasn't so good, a lot of the brewers closed down. But the Belgian Brewers Association is still an association, and they actually classify Belgian beers by the method of fermentation. The bottom fermentation for lagers, the top fermentation for ales, the spontaneous fermentation for lambics, and a combination of both, which is the Flemish reds, browns, and sours.
So when you say spontaneous fermentation, and that's what we're talking about, natural occurring yeast within the building, within the air, with an open vat, correct?
That's right. That's the yeast that's found in the Seine Valley, right around Brussels. It's naturally occurring. It lands in the wort, and that's what is used for the fermentation. These are brew unique to Belgium. When the fermentation occurs, that's called a lambic beer. The brewers will store the lambic beers and then start blending them, old lambics with young lambics, and that's when you get a beer called a gueuze. When they add a little bit of sugar to that, that's now called a farro. Or they can ferment it with fruit, and that's your fruit lambics.
Right. So now these are all really interesting, and one of the things that I love about this is that you can get secondary fermentation where there's actually extra yeast or additional sugars that are added into the bottle.
Right.
And now these can be held for anywhere between some of them up to 3 to 4 years. Am I right?
Yeah, the secondary fermentation in the bottles was first used to age the bottles and for the carbonation. These beers, because of the extra yeast, can be stored from 5 to up to 25 years, actually. The secondary fermentation can either be a filtered process or an unfiltered process. If it's unfiltered, then the yeast that has been used during the fermentation is in the bottles, and as you can see, the Saison DuPont, you can see some floaties in there because that has been unfiltered. If they filter it, then they will sort of reseed with a little bit more yeast and sugar in the bottle. And again, that's called a live beer, secondary fermentation, bottle conditioning. These all mean the same thing, that yeast has been added.
Right. Now, what's the oldest beer you've tried?
The oldest brewery, you mean?
Or no, the oldest beer that's been bottle conditioned or cellared. What's the oldest one that you've tried?
I think that's got to be the Scaldus Prestige. They have a very, very small production, about 100 small barrels, 100-liter barrels, and they'll keep them for years and years. And I managed to get, I think, 30 cases last year, and it was probably about 7 years old at that time.
Wow.
And how many cases do they make in a batch? How many?
It's very, very, very small. Oops. Very
Nice work.
very small production of them. There's, I think they have 100-liter
Okay.
casks going out any time, but they keep them, they store them, cellar them, so at any time they can be, they can just have maybe 20 from one particular year.
Well, I tell you, this is quite the tutorial that I've just received on Belgian beer. This is fantastic.
Now, for those of you who just heard that pop, that was me opening the Saison DuPont, which Leanne has graciously brought us, and it just looks absolutely beautiful. When you hold it up to the light, a beautiful apple juice, almost yellow to it. You can see some of the residual yeast that's floating around in there, and really nice aroma.
Yeah, Saisons are a style
Oh, that's fantastic.
quite unique to Belgium. They're originally a farmhouse ale, brewed in the late winter, early spring, for the farmers drinking in the summer. That could be their beer for lunch. So it's they're usually very light in color, light in alcohol for Belgian standards. Easy drinking, not too hoppy, not too malty, not too anything. They're just a really easy drinking beer. The Saison DuPont is sort of the Heinz ketchup of Saisons. It's the one that everybody aspires to be. Great rating, 99 out of 100 from Rate Beer. Same with Beer Advocate. It's sort of the Saison that everybody wants to be.
Now, where's the Saison DuPont available?
Saison DuPont is BCLDB stores as well as private beer and wine stores. Some of the restaurants carry the 330 ml bottles, but you'll typically see the 750 ml bottles.
750 ml. And price point roughly?
About $7.15, I believe.
For the large bottle.
For the 750 ml.
That's awesome.
That is fantastic.
Well, Leanne, thank you so much for coming in today and giving us a really awesome background on
appreciate
Belgian
that.
beers.
Okay, thank
Cheers.
you. Cheers.
Cheers.
You're listening to Just Here for the Beer Radio. We'll be back right after this.
I'm just here for the beer.